Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
Hey, have you ever had the experience where you're in this situation and suddenly it feels like you've been there before? That you've met a person you've never met before? You seem to feel like you know them, or the things that you're doing kind of, gives you this memory that suddenly pops up in your brain like you've been there before, but you know you haven't. It's the weirdest feeling. I had it the other day, actually, thinking, wow, that's a deja vu. Ooh, what's going on here? We're going to be talking about what a deja vu experience is. It looks weird, guys, with little funny symbols over the E and the J, or E and the A, because it's a French phrase, but we've adapted it or we've brought it into the English language, and we use it too. And we're going to talk about, what's actually going on in our brains. At least scientists think that this is happening when we experience those really weird moments where you feel like, ooh, this seems familiar, but you're pretty sure you've never had the experience before.
Yeah, not everybody has this experience. I have had this experience myself many times.
Me too.
At first, I kind of thought it was something weird going on. There's something mysterious going on. Maybe I have extrasensory perception or something like that.
Yeah.
But I heard an explanation later in college, which made some sense. But I'll try to mention that and other explanations. But our subject for today is deja vu. Have we been here before? Well, we've been together for a program, but have we been here before in this exact situation, and have we said the same things before? That's a question we'd like to find out. So let's get to it. Let's read through the entire contents of our lesson right now.
You're going about your day as usual, doing chores or chatting with a friend. Suddenly, a peculiar feeling stops you in your tracks. Though you're sure that you've never experienced this moment before, everything about it feels bizarrely familiar. Even the words you've just said seem to be from an earlier time. What you're experiencing is a psychological phenomenon known as deja vu, French for already seen. This feeling of remembering events that have never happened is quite commonplace. 60 to 70% of people report experiencing deja vu. The reason behind it is more obscure, though, and it's given rise to many myths. People have attributed deja vu to memories of past lives, extrasensory abilities, dreams about future events, or even being kidnapped by aliens. However, science provides us with more credible theories. One such explanation is called Cryptamnesia. This happens when learned information is forgotten in conscious memory, but still stored in our brains. If a certain situation triggers this forgotten information, we may get a feeling of familiarity. This can happen even without the presence of a fully formed memory. Another theory suggests deja vu occurs when we have a mismatch in the parts of our brains responsible for familiarity and memory recall. Deja vu occurs more often in young people, and a study from the University of St. Andrews, UK, shows why. According to the study, deja vu is a signal that the brain is preventing a memory error from occurring. This explains why deja vu declines as we age, while memory errors increase. Still, if you've never had deja vu, it doesn't mean your memory is defective. You may simply have fewer memory errors than other people. The next time you get that eerie, familiar feeling, take a moment to thank your brain for keeping you on track.
Okay, let's do it, everybody. Let's discuss today's subject. of Deja Vu. It's our psychology unit for the month of September. And we have to ask the question, have we been here before? Has this happened before? Gee, this seems very familiar. This is a very familiar situation. And I remember saying these exact words, and that person did the exact same thing before. But I don't know if this is a memory or a dream or what. So yeah, this is all about deja vu. Have we been here before? So here in the first paragraph it says, you're going about your day as usual, doing chores or chatting with a friend. So these might be some things that you do during your day. It's a typical, ordinary, everyday day, and you're going about your day just like you always do. You're doing chores, getting up and washing the dishes and getting ready for school and stuff like that. So you're doing your chores, or you might be chatting with a friend, maybe on the phone. So yeah, these are things that you're doing, but then suddenly a peculiar feeling stops you in your tracks. Yeah, something weird happens. You have this feeling, and it's very unusual, and it stops you in your tracks. It kind of makes you stop and think, gee, something weird is going on. That's because it's a peculiar feeling. So here we've got the word peculiar, and that just means unusual, strange. It's just not something that happens every day.
Yeah, it's a little odd, a little bizarre. Yeah. Sometimes you can actually use this word to describe a feeling if you're not feeling totally well. Maybe your stomach has sort of a peculiar feeling. You can use it that way too. And to stop in one's tracks just means something odd's happened, so you stop or you immediately start examining or thinking about something, stops you in your tracks. If something stops you in your tracks, it just means it surprises you. You can't just go ahead and do what you were doing. You're either surprised or you're curious or something is going on that's weird, so you stop and think about things. So though you're sure that you've never experienced the moment before, everything about it feels bizarrely familiar. I think that's a good way to describe what a deja vu feels like. It does feel familiar, but in a weird way, because you're thinking, well, I've never done this before. Why does it feel like a memory to me? Notice this sentence, guys. Though you're sure that here is one of those optional uses of that. You could remove that and it would still be a correct sentence. Though you're sure you've never experienced this moment before is absolutely correct. So know that sometimes you absolutely need it, sometimes you don't. Here you don't.
Right, so you know for sure that this has not happened to you before, but still it feels like a memory. It feels like it has happened before. Yes, I seem to remember being in this situation and that person moved that particular way or said that thing, but I know it really didn't happen before, but yet it feels like a memory. So even the words you've just said seem to be from an earlier time. Like I just said, someone says something or you say something and you realize, gee, I'm very sure I said that before, or I'm very sure that other person said that before, even though you know in your heart that you didn't say those words before. It can't be possible. But yes, the words you've just said, they do seem to be from an earlier time, maybe from yesterday, maybe from last week, maybe from 20 years ago.
Right, could be. So what you're experiencing is a psychological phenomenon. So this is kind of how we're describing what a deja vu is. Psychological just means related to the mind. If you study psychology, you might end up being a psychologist. If you go on to get an MD, a medical license, a medical doctor, or a PhD, someone who is really an expert at the mind. So a phenomenon just means something that we don't quite understand, something a little weird about our world. So sometimes we'll use this word when we're not quite sure what's going on. So yeah, psychological phenomenon, and they've given it a name, deja vu, which is French, as I mentioned earlier, for already seen.
Yep, it's a French term, and that's what it means in French. So, hey, you've got a head start on French. You already know a term if you want to study French someday. Deja vu. Now, this feeling of remembering events that have never happened is quite commonplace. And commonplace is basically the same thing as common. It just happens to a lot of people all the time. It's not unusual. If you have deja vu, don't think you're crazy or anything like that because it happens to all sorts of people. And it's a psychological phenomenon. It does not mean you're crazy. It does not mean you're going bonkers or losing all your marbles. Basically, you're just like all sorts of other people. Although I'm kind of surprised that 60 to 70% of people report experiencing deja vu. I thought it would have been higher than that.
Yeah, I would say 80 to 95%. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it used to happen to me all the time when I was younger, but not so much now, which I guess is also normal as we're going to find out as our lesson continues. But again, back to this word commonplace, it just means something that happens often, almost every day.
So here are the numbers. 60 to 70% of people report experiencing deja vu. I was surprised at how low that percentage is. I would have thought it was much higher. Or maybe people don't want to admit it because it feels weird. I don't know. But yeah. Actually, when I'm going through one of these deja vu moments, I typically will mention it to, whoever I'm talking to or experiencing that moment with. I'm like, ooh, weird. I just had a deja vu. That's what I'll say. So yeah, a lot of people have gone through this experience, and we're going to talk more about this, guys. But first, we're going to take a quick break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
谢谢美语老师。Hello, my name is Shelby. 现在开始中文部分。Deja vu， 似曾相识的感觉。第一段。你像平常一样处理琐事或聊天，突然一种奇怪的感觉让你停了下来。第二句动词片语 stops you in your tracks. Track 轨道、轨迹，表示突然使人暂停。Stop 后面还可以加上形容词 dead 死亡的，更进一步表示完全停止。你确定你没经历过，但这一切又异常的熟悉。空格一，接着。你正在经历一种叫做既视感的心理现象。What you're experiencing 是名词子句，当主词，搭配单数动词 is。What 表示点点点的事情。Phenomenon 现象，它的复数省略字为 on 加上 a 变成 phenomena。空格前描述一种奇怪熟悉的感觉，空格下一句则说明这现象为 deja vu。既视感，可推测空格举了个例子做说明。选项 C， 刚才说的话似乎你以前说过 ，you 与前后句呼应，为既视感的例子，文意连贯通顺。答案选 C。第二段，这种记得从未发生过事情的感觉很常见。Commonplace 可以当作名词，表示司空见惯的事情，或者形容词，表示平凡的。举个例子。Electric cars are increasingly commonplace. 电动汽车越来越普及了。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson. And of course, we just mentioned the fact that deja vu is actually pretty commonplace. The majority of people will have experienced deja vu at some time in their life, but the reason behind it is more obscure. Obscure just means hidden. It's kind of not so clear. We don't really know exactly why it happens. And it's given rise to many myths. And so here we have the phrase to give rise to something, which means basically to have some sort of result. There's a cause and effect relationship. So because this happens, people are going, wow, that's pretty bizarre. Why is that happening? What's the reason for that? Is it some kind of magic? Is God trying to talk to me or something like that? So yes, indeed, it has caused lots of myths to come about.
Right. So people have attributed deja vu to memories of past lives. I guess people who believe in reincarnation probably fall into this category. It could be because you have extrasensory abilities. Kind of like beyond your senses of touch, smell, hearing, taste, those sorts of sensory abilities. Extrasensory just means you have kind of this weird ability to feel or sense things that other people don't have. So we'll talk about kidnapping in a minute. That's another theory. So if you attribute something to someone or something else, it just means you're saying that thing came from it. So it was caused by this thing. You'll often see in newspaper stories in English, they'll attribute a quote to someone, meaning that quote belongs to a particular person. So here it's attributed to perhaps memories of past lives, if you believe in reincarnation, coming back perhaps as an animal or another kind of person. That's a reincarnation. Extrasensory, I don't know, if you have the ability to read minds or tell the future, that would be an extrasensory ability. Maybe you have had dreams about future events. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Or maybe it's because you've been kidnapped by aliens.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I was surprised to learn quite a few people feel like they've been kidnapped by aliens. Not me. Anyway, if someone kidnaps you or someone else, it means they take you by force, and typically they'll ask for a ransom. A ransom is what you must do in order to get that person back. Most of the time, the ransom is money. Sometimes it's, I don't know, maybe they want to steal a plane, so they kidnap the pilot and they want a plane in return. It could be a lot of different things. Typically, though, kidnappings involve folks that are taken by force from very wealthy families, typically. And then if that family pays a certain amount, then perhaps the kidnappers, the ones doing the bad deed, will return that person. Sometimes they don't return the person.
Yeah, that happened to me. My son was kidnapped once. I received a phone call, and my son was on the phone saying, Ba, wabe bang jala. But then I realized, oh, gee, I don't think I have a son. So,
Wait,
yeah,
I only have a daughter. I know.
Yeah, so I think that was a bogus phone call. But in any case here, this might be an explanation for deja vu. Some people might think that they were kidnapped by aliens, or that they were remembering a past life, or that they've got ESP, extrasensory perception, or something like that. But science, of course, has a way of basically explaining things to us and taking the fun away from it. So yes, however, science provides us with more credible theories and explanations. So one such explanation is called Cryptamnesia. I hope I said that right. I did not know this word existed before today's program, so you learn something new every day. And what is cryptamnesia? Well, this happens when learned information is forgotten in conscious memory, but still stored in our brains. Basically, we remember something that happened to us, but we don't remember that it's a memory, okay? So it's like, oh, wow, that kid just threw me that red ball. That seems like it happened before, but I don't remember that actually happening. It did actually happen before, but you don't remember that it actually happened, although you remember the memory, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing, isn't it? So, yeah, you have learned it in the past, but you forgot that you did. It's forgotten in your conscious memory. We have different kinds of memory, which I find very interesting. The brain is very complicated. If someone is conscious, guys, it means they're able to be aware of what's happening around them. Even if they can't speak sometimes, they can at least hear what people are saying, and they can see what's going on. If you're unconscious, perhaps you're in the hospital and you've lost consciousness. We're not sure what goes on in this situation, whether they can hear people or not. My sister was unconscious for a while, and when she regained consciousness, she told us she actually could hear some of the conversations that were going on. So it's learned information that you forgot that you learned. in your conscious memory, but it's stored in your brain. And if you're in a certain situation, it triggers or starts this forgotten information so that it comes back to you and it feels very familiar to you.
Yeah, it's a real memory, but you just can't remember it being a memory because it's in your subconscious, I guess, and not in your conscious so much. And this can happen even without the presence of a fully formed memory. So, yes, it can happen in different kinds of situations and with different kinds of memories. Another theory suggests déjà vu occurs when we have a mismatch in parts of our brains responsible for familiarity and memory recall. Okay, this one's kind of weird as well, but we might have this mismatch in parts of our brains. And it will be a mismatch, which means they don't get along well or they don't belong together, basically. A mismatch, you could say that could describe somebody you know, like John and Jane are a couple, but they're a mismatch. They don't belong together. They don't have anything in common. Why are they dating each other? They are not meant for each other. So this could be happening in your brain. There's a mismatch between the part of your brain that knows about familiarity, that recognizes things, and then about memory recall, actually remembering things. They just don't match up correctly.
Recall is the noun form of this vocabulary word. The verb form is recall. Recall. I think it's more recall. Here is recall. If you have good recall, it means you have a really good memory and you can come up with what happened to you earlier with a lot of detail. Recall. They'll also often recall products that are flawed or have problems. That's a product recall. You want to pay attention to those announcements. There's something wrong with the product if it's been recalled. So déjà vu occurs more often in young people, and they did a study at the University of St. Andrews, which is in Scotland. I think it's part of the UK, of course. And according to the study, déjà vu is a signal that the brain is preventing a memory error from occurring. So, yeah, it could be your brain actually helping you not have or produce that error by giving you this déjà vu feeling, that feeling of familiarity.
I guess that sounds like the brain is repeating the memory just to make sure you don't forget it. And this explains why déjà vu declines as we age, okay? So yes, this could be an explanation as to why I don't have this as often as I used to, which kind of means maybe my memory is disappearing and I'm going to forget everything eventually. But as it says here, still, if you've never had déjà vu, it doesn't mean your memory is defective. If something's defective, that means there's a problem with it. If you order something online and it comes in the mail and it doesn't work, you say, "Ooh, this thing is defective. I'm going to send it back and get a new one."
Yeah, it's got some flaws in it. It's got problems that you don't want to have, so you want to return it. You may simply have fewer memory errors than other people, which is a good thing, you know? So don't look at this as being negative. The next time you get that eerie, familiar feeling, take a moment to thank your brain for keeping you on track. Yeah, eerie is a great word. You'll often have eerie feelings in kind of scary situations. Maybe you've been outside and the fog has come down and there's no moonlight. And it just gives you this really kind of eerie feeling like you should be very careful. Something might be around the corner. So the next time you get that eerie feeling, and it is a feeling that feels a little bit weird, kind of gives you that weird feeling, just take a moment and remember that you heard this program and we told you, or at least science says, that it's your brain actually helping you out. It's keeping you on track, keeping you, your brain's functioning in the correct way, you could say, so you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation. It's time now to listen to our Chinese teacher.
空格2，接着人们将 déjà vu 归因于前世记忆、超能力等。动词片语attribute to something 把什么归因于什么，例如 He attributes his good health to exercise 他将身体健康归功于运动。如果念成 attribute 当名词表示属性 特性。空格2前一句说 Deja Vu 既视感很常见，后一句说人们认为可能发生的原因。选项 A， 它背后的原因并不清楚， obscure 是不清楚的， and it's given rise to many myths。 动词片语 give rise to something 产生，这里写成完成式，表示早已引起许多的迷思，呼应前世记忆、超能力等这些说法，文意连贯通顺，所以答案选 A。 接着，然而科学为我们提供更多理论。第3段提到，其中一个解释被称作潜意记忆。当学习到的资讯被遗忘，但仍然储存在我们的大脑时，就会发生这种情况。空格3，接着，即使没有完整的记忆，也可能会发生这种情况。句子中的片语 the presence of something， presence 出现， the presence of a fully formed memory 表示完整的记忆呈现。空格前2句用潜意记忆来解释既视感，空格下一句以 this 开头，说明即使没有完整的记忆，也可能会发生。可以推测空格在说明潜意记忆。选项 F， 如果某种情况触发了这被遗忘的资讯，我们可能会有熟悉的感觉。关键字 this forgotten information 遗忘的资讯，呼应空格上一句的 forgotten， 文意连贯，所以答案选 F。 第4段 Deja Vu 既视感更常发生在年轻人身上。根据研究，既视感是大脑防止记忆错误的信号。第4题空格下一句 still…… 不过如果你没有过既视感，这不代表你的记忆有缺陷。生字 defective 有缺陷的，例如 defective gene 缺损的基因。空格前说既视感发生在年轻人身上，是大脑防止记忆错误的信号。后一句呢，以转折于 still 不过开头，并以 you 为主词，应该与前文有所切割，可以推测空格应该继续讨论这个研究。选项 B， 句子当中的 memory errors 记忆错误与上一句呼应。As we age 随着年纪增长，则与年轻人做对比，文意连贯，所以答案选 B。第5题空格，接着下次当你有这种怪异熟悉感时，感谢你的大脑让你处于正轨。生字 eerie 怪异的。空格前一句说如果没有既视感，不代表记忆有缺陷。空格后一句说下次既视感时要感谢大脑，可以推测空格应该说明没有过既视感代表的意义。选项 1， 你可能只是记忆错误比别人少，以 you 为主词，与前后句相同，并说明若没有过既视感也是件好事，文意连贯，所以题答案选 1。 以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
That brings us to the end of our program, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and please join us again next time. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.